Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope you had a good day. Been really nice here today, in the mid 80s I guess, and sunny, and not too hot really. Temperature wise it felt cooler than that, but really nice out, you know. But we'll probably get more heat soon, you know. It's just how it goes. I mean, we get some mild days and then bang, more heat wave, you know. So, I mean, I guess for some people in this country, the heat wave doesn't stop, okay, no matter what. I can't see how people can take that. I really can't. That's why I used to want to live in places like Florida and stuff like that, but you know, I just after paying attention to Florida, what goes on down there, and then the heat they get down there, I was like, you know what, it's really, I don't think I would last very long down there in fucking Florida with the, because I lived there when I was just a kid. But when you're a kid, you're tough, you know. You can take the heat when you're just a kid, you know. And I was like, you know, first, second grade, so it. You know, we moved out of Maine when I was born, so I never really got to experience Maine weather that much, nor do I even remember it. But when we got to Florida, my memories began there, and it seemed like, you know, normal, you know. So, and then we moved to Texas after that, and I experienced extreme dry heat down there. So, but yeah, heat was something that, when we moved back to Maine, I got used to the cooler weather, and then the heat started to get to me more. And it's humid, very humid up here when it's hot in the summer like that. You know, you take the humidity away, probably wouldn't be quite as bad, but you know, shit. So anyway, yesterday when I made the video about Graham Plattner, I also went on to other social media sites that I have accounts with. And you know, every site you go to, there's like a topic that you can pick, and of course the big topic, one of the big ones, was Graham Plattner's thing going on. So I went on there and I started reading other people's comments, and you know, there was 1 out of 15 probably that felt that people should, you know, be very careful about assigning guilt to this guy without really knowing all the facts, or you know, or the whole story basically. I mean, because this just broke, okay? This just broke, and you know, people don't know everything yet. I mean, like I said, you have the alleged victim telling her story, and then claiming that she's got corroborating evidence to back it up, but we haven't seen that evidence. We don't know what that evidence looks like, or what it's saying, okay? And again, you know, the CNN interview that she gave did not look very convincing to me, that, you know, she suffered something horrendous or whatever. So then there's that, you know, that I saw. But I'm not the person that's trying to make light of it. If it did happen, okay, if it did happen, then he should answer for it, okay? I don't think having him drop out of the race should be the price or the penalty for having raped someone if he did. Okay, I think that if he did, okay, yeah, get out of the race, and then let her take his ass to court, because it is a crime. Okay, it's a hateful crime, and it has to be addressed. He can't just walk free and that's it. But there's people out there that think that, well, she waited until now to tell her story because that's the time to do the most damage, which sounded kind of odd, seeing how when the original statement that that she had said, the alleged victim said that she liked his politics, okay, which to me didn't make much sense, because if she liked his politics, why did she wait until now? You know what I'm saying? It looks suspicious. It does. It looked very suspicious, and I feel like there's more to this story than we fucking know. Okay, there's more to this on both sides, Graham and her. There's more to this shit than what we already know. So I don't know if we're ever going to get the whole story, because people have a habit of covering their ass, 6 ways from Sunday in order to stay out of prison if there's something bad. We all seen this with Trump. Okay, that's what he's been doing all this time. Ever since the Epstein files became known, he's been trying very hard not to be transparent and trying to hide every detail that he can hide that ever gets released in public. It's just a bunch of black paper. We never get to see anything. Okay, so depending on how many victims that he raped, okay, he's doing a big job covering that up, so we don't know the details. But it's the victims have come forward and said some things about their dealings with Epstein. Okay, so we know that Epstein was, at least the victims are pointing a finger at him, but then there's all this other connection to Trump, that his name is in those files over 1 million something times. Okay, so he's a big figure in that shit. Okay, so, and he's obviously very worried about what gets seen out in the public. Anyway, going back to Plattner, this kind of stuff would disappear, okay? But he's not running for president of the United States. He was just running for the Senate, okay? So I just feel like if he knew he had done something that was wrong, okay, I can't imagine why he would want to put himself out there in public. I mean, if he did rape this woman, he dodged a bullet and she didn't go after him, okay, which she should have from the very beginning, right? It's one of the other oddities about women who get raped is, they worry about the shame, but they ain't alone. There are thousands of women out there who have been raped, okay? And it shouldn't be, a mystery to anybody. Like, if you get murdered, you can't be ashamed about it. People get murdered all the time, And, the more women come forward to hold men accountable for rapes, okay, the more women see it, the easier it is for them to say, well, I wouldn't be alone. There's a whole community out there of women that have gone right through what I did. So there shouldn't be any feeling of shame in that, okay? It happens. Unfortunately, it happens. And so, being a victim of a rape, you got to go to court. You have to make your case in court. It has to be known that women are willing to drag your ass in court if you do these things to them. Okay? That's the thing. The more they do that, the more it becomes less of a big, you don't have to be as shy about it, okay? There's plenty of support out there for women that have been raped to help them get through it, okay? Yeah, I mean, they don't want their face. I mean, you could have these trials and where there's no cameras around or stuff like that, okay? You can do that. So, and there's a way to do them without having your name plastered all over the news. In fact, it's easier nowadays than it used to be, okay? But in Graham Plattner's case, they say, well, he's a big political. No, he's not. He only in Maine was he that big of a thing. Sure, the rest of the country didn't want to see Susan Collins win, but they didn't. The rest of the country didn't know as much about Plattner as people in Maine did. Okay, and so they just it wasn't like something everybody was following. Okay, it only mattered to people in Maine. So he wasn't like this big, like a Donald Trump guy. Okay, he just a guy, an average citizen who had no political standing in anything before. Okay, so he's really a nobody. Nobody knew of this guy until he put his name out there, but he's really a nobody. So, like I said, why the woman waited until now, thinking that, maybe this is what she was thinking, that maybe I could do more damage to him this way. But is that really enough? I mean, come on. We're talking about a crime here that has jail time added to the penalty. Okay? We don't want, somebody that commits a murder, we don't want to wait until they're running for a political office and then say, okay, well, I'm going to get back at him. I'll just say he murdered somebody and then that'll be the end. No, you want the son of a bitch to go to trial and answer for the crime, because there is a huge penalty with that. Okay, and that's what I've been trying to tell people in these different things. And when I've been getting a lot of accusations thrown at me saying, oh, you're pro-rape, you're this, you're that, they don't know me. Okay, they don't know me to say something stupid like that. They're just angry. Okay, I get that. They're angry. They're angry because they've been betrayed, or they feel betrayed by Graham Plattner. Okay, and sure, I understand what that feels like, because I felt betrayed by MAGA for supporting Trump for a second fucking term as president. Okay, yeah, but this is a different situation here. We're talking about a guy who has been accused of rape, and right now we only heard her story, we heard his story. Okay, so we got he said, she said. She says she's got evidence to back her story up. We haven't seen that. It hasn't been made public yet. Okay, if there is, she needs to use that to go after him, so that way he answers for the crime. Okay, that's the way justice is supposed to look like in this country. That's my point. But if he's innocent, then still take him to court. Okay? And it will come out in court that he didn't do it. If he's innocent, right? In fact, if he is innocent, he can countersue her for defamation of character. So, like I said, there is a solution here if we do this the right way. You throw this out into the public court of public opinion, of course they're going to get pissed off and react and judge him before the fact. Okay? This is how we have a hard time finding juries to sit on a case like this, because they've been tainted already by the court of public opinion. And it's very hard to find an objective jury to sit on a trial like that, so that way they can, properly gauge the evidence in hand. All right? So, like I said, I mean, yeah, this guy, I mean, he'll most likely drop out, I guess. Because if he stays, he'll definitely guarantee Collins wins, because if he stays and the Democrats try to force a third choice in there, that'll split the vote and she'll get the majority. Okay, so it's not going to work. He can't stay if he's losing all this support now. He can't stay. All right, because that's just the reality of the world we live in. An accusation is enough these days to bring down somebody in that position. Sometimes it's true, the accusation ends up becoming fact. Sometimes it isn't. But we should know which before we crucify somebody. And we do that by allowing the justice system to take responsibility, for upholding the law, But I guess right now everybody's all argumentative and, pissed off, and they just don't want to hear an objective point of view like that. They would just rather, crucify him, crucify, you know. Okay, but like I said, if he did do this, okay, hang his ass. Okay, put him, you know, because he did a double dishonorable thing. Okay, and then we can learn from it after the dust settles. Just, you know, where we might have went wrong with picking the guy, if we went wrong, you know, doing it. But, you know, like I said, just, you got to let this play out. It has to play out in the right way. You can't just accuse somebody then disappear, okay, after you hurt them politically or something like that. No, you got to follow through with it, because we're talking about a crime. And if you don't go follow through on prosecuting for that crime, other women are going to see that and think it's impossible to get justice. You see what I'm saying? It looks bad. It makes other women discouraged to even try to go after the abuser, because they figure, well, it never works. You got to try to hurt this guy some other way. It's like, no, because if you look at the law about the penalties for that, okay, there is a punishment. And you gotta throw this in the lap of the law, so that way people are aware that there is an answerable crime, a penalty to pay for that crime. You know, and like I said, if she's got evidence, then she needs to run with that to a prosecutor. Okay, she needs to find somebody to go after to take up that case. And that's really my only point. But like I said, everything, the emotions are really hot right now. I mean, I've been listening to other people doing their videos, and they're really emotional and upset and pissed off, and, you know, they're all condemning the guy. And I'm thinking, you know, there's not enough yet to jump on this to condemn him or not condemn him. Okay, at least I don't feel like there is. I mean, if they were to take what's been said now and put it in court, I think the jury would be deadlocked. Okay, it's just that, you know, just that unknown yet. Okay, unless he comes out and admits it, really, there's no reason why anybody should think that 100% he did it. Okay, there's no reason, because there's still that doubt, and we haven't seen the evidence. We heard her story, okay? And yeah, it sounds, you know, terrible what happened to her. But, you know, it's at this point, it's a he said, she said thing. And if she wants to win this case, she's going to have to provide something more than just that, an accusation. Because if this gets thrown away, people may not like the guy, but nothing was proven about it. That's going to be the salt to the wound. Is that, yeah, they accused him of rape, but it was never proven. It never went to court. We don't know if it was true or not. You know, years later, people are going to be thinking about that and saying, yeah, he might have done this, but we don't know for sure, because they never followed up in court with it, you know. And people who commit rape shouldn't be able to walk freely in our society. They'll do it again, you know. So it's very important for this woman to take the step to, you know, say, look, okay, we're charging you, you know, if you got, you know, we're arresting you, we're going to go through the whole process here to bring a conclusion here to this shit. One way or another, we're going to find out what went on, you know. And that's essentially all you know, my thing is about that. Everybody's still wondering about Mitch McConnell. Is he dead? Okay. Everybody's wondering where the hell that old bastard is. You know, he's been very quiet. And, you know, it feels like there's a big cover-up here that, you know, the Republicans are doing. Why? Because they're afraid that if he is dead, they'd lose that seat, right? And right now, what do they got, a 1 or 2 seat majority over Democrats? So you take McConnell out of that, Jesus Christ. I mean, you know, Andy Beshner did what McConnell's own party refuses to do. You know, with the Senate, with the senator hospitalized since June the 14th. That's last month. He's been hospitalized since fucking last month. And his office basically not really answering anything. I mean, the governor, Andy, has sent a formal letter demanding, I want a real update on McConnell's health because the people deserve the truth from the source instead of weeks of silence. I mean, come on. I mean, the situation in the Senate is so precarious that they just can't. They don't want to lose a seat. They're what are they going to do? They're gonna create a McConnell doll and have him sit in the chair. I mean, Jesus. What's that fucking movie? I can't remember now. It was from the 80s where they had this fucking. These kids accidentally killed a babysitter. Something the babysitter's dead or something. Don't tell mom and the babysitter, something like that. I can't remember now. It was a comedy. And they had to pretend that the babysitter was still alive, and even though she died. It was kind of creepy, but it was funny. I mean, is that what they're going to have to do with McConnell? We all knew his health was bad. And we've all been waiting for the obituary for that old crow to kick the bucket, okay? So now that it's happened, it shouldn't be of a shock to anybody, but it's bad news for the Republicans who are trying to cling to every goddamn seat they got to maintain their power. And I think, how not stupid, but how deranged is that? That they are so desperate that they're willing to hide the fact that Mitch McConnell may be dead. And that, his seat is still under his name, but they don't want the press to find out what's going on with his health. They don't want anybody to know what's happening. Okay? And the governor of Kentucky sitting there demanding, where is this guy? What's happening to him? He's been gone since last month. Okay? And there's been nothing, no progress or anything, said about him or how he's doing. And nobody else in the Republican Party is talking about it. Okay? Now you take that and think about that for a minute. Think about how they cover up everything. They cover up Trump. They're covering up this. And yet, when something like what happened, Graham Plattner comes out, they come out in fury against the Democrats, okay? And I'm thinking, you guys really, you're a joke. You Republicans you are the master of covering up things, okay? You're the master of trying to hope that nobody looks in that general direction because they might find something that they would hurt their image, even though their image is really shit these days, okay? I don't see how much worse it can get for them. But they've got no fucking high ground to stand on here to level any judgment on anybody, okay? They really don't. They are the peanut gallery as far as I'm concerned. Anything they say about what happens with Democrats and stuff, we don't have to listen to that anymore. Because they showed us what kind of people they are already, so we know that they're just scum, all right? And what scum has to say about anything that's looks crooked, you got to take that with a big grain of salt, okay? Really. So, I don't care. But it's funny that, they're jumping hurdles here to try to keep us from knowing what the hell is going on with McConnell, okay? Now, he may be alive. He might be in a coma. He might be close to death. I don't know. But it's going to mean somebody's going to have to take his place if he can't do his job. And if he ain't been there for so many days, I think, doesn't that qualify? Or at least, that there should be somebody taking over his seat at this point if his health is so much that he has to stay in the hospital for weeks at a time. Okay? Don't you think that should be obvious even to people in this state that he represents, that, okay, look, he can't do his job and he's leaving us out in the cold. We need to put somebody else in there. Okay? There's no question his health is keeping him from working now. So he's got to resign that seat. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the weird things about that's going on today there with that, you know. And I feel like this is crazy, crazy times to be an American. But yeah, that's just. And then you got Marco Rubio saying that, oh, quote, just because you're born on U.S. soil doesn't make you a citizen. Your parents must be U.S. citizens. Okay, and a fact check on what he said is that, you know, Marco Rubio was born in Miami in 1971. Okay, same year as I was born, by the way. His parents became citizens in 75, and Rubio is a beneficiary of birthright citizenship. So, if we take what he said in quotes, okay, he shouldn't even be in government, right? Because we don't put foreigners in our seats of government. You have to be American, right? So, with his own mouth, he actually outed him, you know, his own. he condemned his own position in government. So if anything happens from what he just said, he'd have to be one of those to go, because he would no longer qualify for his jobs. You see how stupid they are when they say shit like that, you know? Okay, they hang themselves with their own words. A lot of us wouldn't even be allowed to be considered citizens of this country because we were born in it. Okay? And at the same time, just about every one of us are descended from people who sailed into this country, and the generations were born on this land, and they became citizens. It's like, well, you know, how the hell else are you going to make it seem legit that you are an American? I mean, the guys like Marco are putting up into question how do we become American? Things have been going fine for years. We knew what it was. Why confuse the subject? Why try to be sketchy about it? Why do this stuff? I mean, who benefits out of that? Because you're throwing out the fact that so many of us were born here and that made us a citizen, that now he's trying to say that we can't think that anymore, that we should stop that. That means every one of us is here illegally. All of us. Okay, because we were a citizen because we're born here. It's such a stupid position, and I don't even know why Republicans are still talking about this like it's a big issue, we gotta. No, it's not. That's not the shit that people are worried about in this country as of this moment. Okay, we're thinking about the economy, we're thinking about healthcare, we're thinking about this crazy war going on. Okay, we're thinking about a lot of things in this country, and that isn't it. That's not a concern, but they're trying to make it a concern to confuse the electorate. That's what they do best, is they try to throw you all these sidewinders all the time to distract you from what's really going on, so you won't, because if you bring up too much about the economy, you know, people are going to realize it goes all the way up to Trump. You know, he fucked us over. And this is a way for them to cover Trump's ass by saying, "Oh, look, guess what? You shouldn't be an American if you were born here." That's just a what do they call it? Gaslighting or something? That's just a big fucking smoke screen to say, "Oh, look over here," you know, stop looking at Trump. Okay, this is how they distract people's attention here, by throwing things like that in to rile up the public. And unfortunately, too many Democrats bite that all the time instead of just laughing it off. Okay, too many of them, you know, spend weeks talking about this one issue when we all know it's a pile of crap. That's not what people are thinking about, okay? But that's what Republicans do. They never take care of problems. They promise they're going to do all kinds of things. They never do it once they get in there, do they? You know, and when they get in there, they do things that actually make things worse, which Democrats later have to come in and try to undo. You know, but yeah, I mean, I thought that was, you know, him saying that shit still, you know, and you know, the idea that Donald Trump wants taxpayers to pay for his legal battles while he's trying to get $230 million from the federal government to pay his own lawyers. and families across the country are, while families are struggling to keep up with grocery bills and rent. Representative Jasmine Crockett, she introduced a No Presidential Payouts Act. Okay, now it's a good way to draw attention to this, what Trump's doing. I don't see that it would pass, because remember, you got more Republicans who will simply just nix that fucking thing. Okay, but it's sad that we have to make a proposal like this, because it would go without saying that a president shouldn't be taxing us for things that he did wrong, or what I'm saying, for his legal battles. The man's got more goddamn money than he'll spend in 10 lifetimes. He can pay his own fucking battles. But no, he wants to throw the bill on us, because that's getting back at us for that shit. Okay, it's revenge with this fucking asshole. Okay, and that's why he wants us to pay for that. So in the meantime, like I said, while everybody's struggling to pay their damn bills and their groceries and their gas, he wants to tax us more for that. See, taxes, the idea of taxes is a good idea, but when people take that idea and they twist it into something nefarious, that's when people start bitching about paying their taxes. Okay, that's why people today don't like paying their taxes, because they see things like this. They see fucking politicians taxing us for things that we don't agree with. Okay, we don't agree with our leadership taking our money for things for them and them alone. The taxes are there to sustain the government as a whole. Okay, to guarantee services for the citizens, to have our safety net programs funded healthily, okay, to keep people, from sinking down into poverty and homelessness. I mean, that to me seems more important than bailing out this motherfucker's legal battles, because they're never going to end. The crimes that he's committed are extenuous. I mean, it's just, I don't even want to get into that topic, because you'd be all day with that. But like I'm saying, he's just mired in controversy. So we would never be done paying that fucking tab. Okay? And I don't think it's right for anybody to support the president doing that. I think it's crooked. I think that's thievery at its highest level. Okay? He's stealing money out of our wallets, our paychecks, to try to do this. Okay? And every damn one of us, Republican or Democrat alike, ought to be goddamn furious. Because while you're losing your crops, your farms, your jobs, okay, your economic prosperity, he's dipping into your pocket and taking more money out of you, like you have it, so he can stay free as a bird and not have to go to prison for his crimes. How fair is that? All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This
is me.
me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
you change your,
This commenter says, Barack did nothing but destroy this country, just like Trump is doing. But you are too idiotic to see it. Well, give me an example. What did he do? It's easy to go, hey, he did this. Let me run my mouth. Barack destroyed, Barack divided, Barack did this. Give me examples. How did Barack Obama destroy the country? Did he destroy it when he doubled the stock market? Did he destroy it when he cut unemployment in half? Did he destroy it when he cut government spending by 2/3? Did he destroy it when he brought the nation back, the nation's economy back from the worst recession since the Great Depression, saving the auto industry in the process? Did he destroy it by overseeing the longest streak of uninterrupted private sector job growth in American history? Did he destroy the country when 22 million more Americans were able to get health care coverage than were able to before he became president? Did he destroy the country by putting into place, with other leaders, by the way, a nuclear deal that Iran was adhering to per Donald Trump's own intelligence agencies? Give me an example of how Barack Obama destroyed the country. Because I got a pretty good idea why people like you think he destroyed this country, because I saw it in my own father before his passing. My father actually agreed with Barack Obama on a great number of issues. My father was in favor of Medicare for all at the tail end of his life when he was living here. He didn't give a shit who got married. He thought people should be able to earn a livable wage no matter what they did in this country. He was a strong supporter of unions. But he couldn't bring himself to vote for Barack Obama. And when asked why, his response to me was because he's a black man and it's the White House. And the only black man that should be in the White House is the one serving the white president. And I got a feeling that that's probably where you and your mindset lands. Because I defy you to come up with a single goddamn thing that Barack Obama did that destroyed this country. For the most part, we were way better off when Barack Obama left office than when he came into office. Way better off. And I say for the most part because he didn't do everything perfect. The guns to Mexico thing, that was a bad one. That was a bad one. But everything else was on the upward trajectory. The economy was growing. People were making more money. More people could get a healthcare coverage. We weren't falling into a Great Depression. Jobs were getting created left and right. So don't just tell me he destroyed the country. Tell me how. What did he do? Give examples. Don't give me bumper sticker slogans. Give me actual examples.
Because I will tell you this, brother.
What?
You know, I will tell you this. You raise your voice, I raise your voice.
You what? You erase my voice?
Whatever it is.
You erase my voice? Is that what you said? If I raise my voice, you'll erase my...
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Are you serious? You said if I raise my voice, you'll erase my voice?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So is he dead or what? What's going on here? Mitch McConnell, not Trump. If we were talking about Trump, I mean, the smile I would have on my face right now, there'd probably be fireworks going off behind me. No, I'm talking about Mitch McConnell. Not that I would be upset if this piece of shit bit the dust, but just nowhere near as happy as if the other fucking criminal rapist piece of shit were to kick the bucket. Anyway, is he dead? I mean, he hasn't been seen in weeks. He had a heart attack, apparently. Reports are he's unconscious. I don't know. Here's what Laura Loomer posted yesterday on Twitter. By the way, it's Tuesday, July 7th, 9:10 a.m. Eastern time as I'm recording this. Laura Loomer wrote, high-level source close to the White House tells me Mitch McConnell is officially brain dead. He's not coming back. Now, I know it's Laura Loomer. So, I mean, this is not exactly the world's most trusted source of news and information. However, she does have close ties to Trump and the White House. And if, in fact, Mitch McConnell were brain dead, a vegetable on life support, and the White House knew about it, it is possible that Laura Loomer would find that information out. So I don't know. Just putting it out there. I don't have any answers, but I seriously doubt this fucking guy is coming back. And that's a good thing.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so some distressing news here about our fight with Iran here, and this, what I'm going to read here, comes from Media News, entitled, first it's by Trey Matthews, and it's entitled, Trump says ceasefire MOU with Iran is over after a night of bombing. Quote, it's a waste of time dealing with him, unquote, he said. Following a night of U.S. bombing, Donald Trump said the memorandum of understanding for a ceasefire with Iran is over. During a press conference with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, R-U-T-T-E, in Turkey Wednesday morning, Trump called the Iranian government, quote-unquote, scum, and said it was a waste of time dealing with them. Quote, to me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore, unquote. Trump said, quote, they're scum. You know what scum is? Yeah, we know what scum is. It's Donald Trump. They're sick people. They're led by sick people, and they're vicious, violent people. Look, they're eating your cats and dogs, right? And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over, unquote. Quote, we make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over, unquote. Wow. Okay, Trump's comments come the morning after a massive U.S. strike on Iran with over 80 targets hit, including multiple small boats in the Strait of Hormuz, following Iran attacks on U.S. military sites in Kuwait, Bahrain on Tuesday that Trump and Ruddy said violated the ceasefire agreement. Trump is in Turkey for a tense NATO summit after renewing calls for U.S. annexation of Greenland. Here we go again with fucking Greenland. What the hell is up with that guy? You know, and here's the thing. The truth here that Trump seems to be trying to deflect here. We started that fucking fight over there. We jumped in with Israel and we helped Israel to go over and bomb Iran. We're the ones in the wrong here. We're the bad guys. And yet he makes it sound like they are the bad guys because they broke the agreement. The agreement that we signed because we lost that fight. Okay, we lost that fight and we had to sign that MOU. And a lot of people in America didn't like that, especially, you know, the pro-Israel crowd out here. They didn't like that at all. And we all knew that that ceasefire wasn't going to last very long, okay, because Israel kept bombing, they didn't stop. And so the United States, dragged by the nose, I guess, you know, if you're a weak leader, went ahead and followed through with what Israel continued to do, okay? So we're the ones that broke the agreement first. We're the ones that broke that agreement first. So it's Trump's fault that we're back in this again. Now, the reason I bring this story up is because for people here at home, that's probably going to mean gas prices will go up here before fall. Okay, it's probably going to go up again. But we already got our butts kicked already with Iran, and why Trump didn't learn from that, I don't know. But the guy's pretty dense, as you know. He's pretty thick. You know, he doesn't understand that doing the same thing over and over again does not always come back with different results. But he's going to sacrifice more of our boys and girls in this fight. That's disgusting. It really is disgusting when you think about it. And it's got a whole lot of people right now in America really pissed off, especially when some of these people come home and now they're starting to look at our younger veterans now with a different kind of slant, because we committed war crimes in this fight, and now, you know, the veterans coming home are kind of tainted with that, and it wasn't their fault. Okay, it wasn't their fault. No matter how you want to picture this, it's no more their fault than it was the Vietnam veterans who came back after we found out the things that happened over there. War is a messy fucking thing. It's never good. No good ever comes out of it. Okay? Despite how we try to patriotize it and decorate it as something honorable, what's underneath is really the part we don't want to look at to find out how this war was fought, how we won it. Okay? Every goddamn war this country ever fought, going all the way back to the founding of this country, has got some dark history to it that we just don't want to look. That's why we try to stop wars before they happen. That's why we have ambassadors. That's why we have peacekeepers. We try to go that route. And war should always be the war of last resort. But Trump, you see how he started this thing? He jumped right into it. He jumped us right into it without even thinking. Eyes closed. He went right into this thing, ignoring the precedent set by other presidents, saying, you don't want to go into this fucking thing. They could put a chokehold on our fucking crude oil here and it would hurt us bad. You don't want to fuck with them. They don't have to have nukes in order to, you know, make things difficult for us. And the thing is, they didn't have any. But because Israel couldn't keep their hands to themselves and they kept pushing, doing this genocide, they rattled the fucking hornet's nest, and now they're screaming, "We help us, help us!" It's like, no, it'd be like Saddam Hussein screaming at us to help him because they did something to another country and we should go in here and help him out. Why? One dictator or one mass murderer is the same as another. Okay? Why should we ally ourselves? Look, people are pissed off at Trump. Okay? A lot of people right now wouldn't align themselves with Trump anymore because of that. So why is it okay for us to align ourselves with Netanyahu? Okay, why should we do that? Isn't that the same thing as staying loyal to Trump? Netanyahu never gave any thought to what would happen to our country if he dragged us into something that he started and wants to continue. Knowing full well that a lot of people in this country would not agree with it. Because that puts a bullseye on us. And like I said before, years down the road, we're going to get hit with terrorist activity here because they fight dirty. They always fight dirty. And it doesn't matter how hard you tighten up the borders, okay, they will get through. I mean, there's probably people already here now from that country just waiting for the time, making preparations, to hit something somewhere. It's not beyond the realm of possibility. We know how long it took them to do 9/11 because they've been here. They were here for years before they did their attack. Okay, they had to be careful not to be detected. So Trump's sitting here, blasting Iran, trying to make them look like the bad guy here. Okay, like they started this shit. Is really another form of distraction to mislead you. Okay, and at this point we got to start thinking on the lines like we're living in Russia. Whatever you hear from Trump, just think the opposite. You're probably closer to the truth if you do that. That's the way I see it. All right, so here's a really kind of a non-political thing here, which is interesting. This is from the Conservation Law Foundation article here. It's entitled, "Stop Sports Washing in Our Backyard. Tell FIFA to drop polluting oil company as World Cup sponsor." The World Cup is coming to cities like Boston, Atlanta, and Seattle this summer, but what should be a moment of joy and unity is being undermined by FIFA's partnership with Saudi Aramco, a state-owned oil company, using the World Cup to rebrand itself as a climate leader while continuing to expand fossil fuel production. There's a word for this deception: sports washing. But FIFA shouldn't be able to use this global cultural event to obscure Aramco's destructive and harmful business practices. FIFA should drop Aramco as a World Cup sponsor because we all deserve to enjoy the events we love without supporting major contributors to the pollution causing our planet to overheat and boil. Okay? So, yeah, I mean, this is another way they make money. Okay? These companies. And when you support them, that's supporting the continuation of the problem we have. Right now where gas prices are so high, okay, there's a lot of people talking about, the next car I'm going to get is a hybrid or an electric car or whatever, things along that line, okay. I was saying that years back, before I got the truck that I have. I wanted to get something like that, but circumstances didn't play out the way I needed it in order to get one. But there's there. Okay, so other countries in the world are supplying their citizens with that alternative than to use gas, and that's good. I'm glad to hear it. Okay. Why should it only be there and not here? Okay. Traditionally, what happens is the United States used to keep up with the rest of the world technologically, you know, and we were always in competition with these other countries to try to outdo them in things and stuff. Didn't always work, but we always kind of kept, you know, parallel with the rest of the developed world. But when it came to climate change, that's where they put the brakes on that in this country, because that was going after the throat of the biggest businesses in this country. Okay? And when people started talking about climate change, like what, you know, when Al Gore was trying to educate the public about that, and more people were becoming concerned about it, they started to sweat, and they felt like, oh, well, we can't keep talking about that, so we have to counter it with some bullshit with our own scientists and tell people that, oh, the climate change thing is a hoax. It doesn't work the way they're telling it to you. Okay, they're trying to cover their ass, but they're all bought and paid for by the companies that feel like they're under the gun here. Okay? And I always thought, well, why get all upset about that? Because if anything, society was opening a door to a new area to make money, right? A new enterprise to create. And it would seem like everybody would be rushing to be the first to start this. But instead, everybody's like, no, 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 don't go through that door. It's like, why? We're supposed to be innovative in this country. You know, people would be willing to buy these cars if we put them out there and we actually made these things functional. Okay? You start off with the hybrid version, okay? Let people get used to using these cars that have batteries that you can switch over to instead of the gas, right? So that's what you do. You start making the cars that can do both, run on gas and run on the battery, okay? Start that for a generation, I guess, or whatever. Then you start introducing cars that don't need the gas. They use something else. Okay? So that way the change won't be as, you know, all of a sudden, okay, to make people cringe. You do it slowly. And you keep it affordable. So that way it encourages people to buy these things. Okay? Now, I hear all the arguments against these cars, and it really is superficial. It's really not that important how these people think about it, because they never had one to begin with, so they don't really know what they're talking about. They just read about it, or they see stuff on the news about it, but they actually never owned, you know, even just a hybrid car. But there are out there. I mean, I see them all the time. You can tell they're hybrid because you hear them, the car's moving, but you don't hear the motor. You just hear this, zzz, you know, it's the battery that's pulled. Okay, they seem just fine. Okay, they seem just fine. Now, I have a friend that has a hybrid car. It's a Japanese one, and I can't remember what brand it is, but and he said that with the gas prices being where they are, they don't have to fill their tank very often. Okay, in fact, I think they gas up maybe twice a month. Okay, if that. But he loves it. He loves that, especially you got it at the right time where we're having this issue with gas. And, you know, they're able to do their, you know, things locally, and they don't really need to run the goddamn gas. Okay? They're just, you know, puttering around with the battery, and they're getting things done. They love it. The oil companies don't want you to hear that. They don't want you to hear how people feel about these things. You know? And it's sad because, you know, like I said, they could jump in on this market and make a killing right now, because right now is the time. It's a perfect time to sell these kind of cars. Because that's really the best way to get the grip that Iran puts on us would not have much of an impact anymore. We'd already be a step ahead of them. You know, and see, other countries in the world, they've already started introducing more of that into their society, and the people are using them. Okay, they're using them. And you don't hear people bitching all the time about those cars over there. No, they transitioned right over that to a hybrid, to an electric car, and they love it. Okay, only here do we hear. It's the same kind of argument like the healthcare. You want single-payer healthcare? Then go talk to Canada. Remember that when George Bush said that? Okay, go talk to Canada. Okay, let me tell you something. They got long lines for hospital appointments up there. We got long lines for hospital appointments down here. Okay? That was one of the arguments. They said that, oh, you'd be waiting forever. No, we're still waiting forever even here. You know what the difference is? These people aren't going bankrupt because they got sick. Okay? That's the difference. And instead of, you know, taking up that way of doing things and bringing it into this country so that Americans can have that, no, there's too many businesses out there that would go belly up because, oh, now we got competition. We're competing against the government, and we won't have any customers. Well, tough fucking luck, okay? You shouldn't have got in the market of trying to make profit off people's health. Okay? Somebody should have told you that a healthy public is a public that, you know, isn't going to make you any money. Okay? So they go to the government to kill any fucking thing that comes through that where the government might help you. Why do you think they're chipping away at Medicare and all that stuff? Okay, that's going to open up another door for the private sector to come in there and invade your life yet again and take more money out of your wallet yet again. Okay? Instead of learning what these other countries have put into place and how well they're working for these people, and of course, there's no perfect system. I've said this before. No system is perfect, but it's better than what we have here because corporate America has failed us when it comes to healthcare in this country. People have died who should not have died because if they were able to go to the hospital to get treatment or something like that, or even mental health care and stuff, if they were able to do that, okay, they'd still be with us today. They'd still be with us today. And that's sad because, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are living their life minus somebody that, you know, used to be a part of their life. Sure, people die, okay? But it would have been, it's nicer when you don't have to say, I'm not going to go to the hospital because I'm going to end up with a huge bill, and then they wait too long and then they die. And a lot of people are doing that now. Even the young people today, I talk to them all the time when I go places and I bring up health coverage, and a lot of these people are scared to death. A lot of them don't even know what a deductible is. Okay? Because they've been covered under their parents, and they haven't actually gone into the fucking healthcare system as it is. But now that some of them have, they're realizing now just how broken that system is and how lopsided in favor of the business it is. You're paying tons of fucking money every month to this thing, and when it comes time for you to need it, they're looking down to see if there's a clause that they have in there to deny you the coverage. So you might just as well not be covered. You know, if you're going to get it from them, you might as well not, because, you know, it's like, well, if you're going to get sick and die, then die, because we're not going to help you. We take your money, but we're not going to give it to you when you need it. Now, other countries say that's barbaric. They're fucking right. Because in these other countries, people believe that there is a responsibility for the government to take care of its citizens. Okay? I mean, what the hell kind of country does that to their people? Where they just, you know, they leave you at the mercy of profiteering corporations out there trying to take away your health or keep you from getting health care. You know, what the hell is that? where we come into this country and we set ourselves up as prey, you know, for the predators. That's what we are. We are victims. We become victims. Every one of us is a victim here. And, you know, I was talking to my cousin about this very thing here last week. And she was telling me about, you know, her health care bills and stuff. And I just shook my head and said, you know, there's no excuse for only veterans to get, you know, the single payer kind of health care that we argue for everybody. We're all Americans. Just because I served in the military doesn't make me any better than you. Okay, I just did a job. You know, I did a fucking job. If it wasn't me, it'd have been somebody else. But because I did a job in the service, I'm all of a sudden bestowed, oh, you should have all these goodies and things like that. Okay, but for the average citizen, they will fight tooth and nail that everybody else doesn't get something like that. And that to me is the biggest hypocritical position for anybody to take. Thank me for my service, but to hell with everybody else, right? Is that what you're trying to say? You know, I'm like a lot of veterans. We don't like that, being thanked for our service, because you don't know what we did in the service, okay? If you can't stand, like, the things that some of our young veterans had done in the military while they were there, then you shouldn't be thanking anybody then, because that's basically, for a lot of us, what we had to do, okay? We had to fight dirty to win, you know? Sure, some people crossed, you know, legal lines and stuff like that and committed war crimes, but are we going to hold the leadership responsible for those same crimes because they okayed it? And what's the young guy going to know about the law, really? If his superior tells them to go do something, they're going to do it, right? So they don't know. They think, oh, it must be okay because he ordered me to do it. That's how much we know about international law and war crimes and stuff like. We're not educated in that, but the officers and the higher ups are, and they know better. Okay, so if anybody should answer for that, it's them. But I get sidetracked here. Okay, healthcare. Every American deserves to have what I have. Every American. Okay, there's no reason in the world why it should be dominated by the corporations, because we all know, every one of us knows, their bottom line is what's most important to them. Okay, they're there to make money, and so if you have a competing system like the government system doing its thing and doing well at it, hey, you know, so yeah, it's sad. But there's a lot of people in this country who lost everything because they got cancer, because of a sudden death or something like that, you know, or they had an illness that they could have had taken care of, but they were too scared to have it taken care of because they were afraid of the fucking bill they were going to get, because they couldn't afford any more debt. You know, that's no way to live. That makes it another reason why people should leave this country and go to a country that does have state-sponsored health care, okay? Because they say that's one of the big reasons why so many Americans go bankrupt in America in the first place, is because of their health care bills. So if the government's not going to address that, okay, and they're just going to keep letting Americans fall, then why the fuck should we stay here? Okay? Why the fuck should anybody stay in this country when they have better plans elsewhere? Canada looks a lot like America, you know. I went to Toronto. They got everything up there that we got right here. Okay? There's places in the world that would satisfy, you know, whatever it is you're looking for. America's not the only, you know, kid on the block. And right now, the way this country's declining, as soon is going to be the most undesirable kid on the block, okay? Nobody's even going to look at it, or a second look at it, okay? We're just going to be the little bratty kid down the street that doesn't like anybody. That's what we're going to end up being, okay? And that's the way the rest of the world sees us now. Thanks to Trump, what he done is he put the that on steroids in the time he's been president, so he's really hammered our image down bad. That's why it's going to take years to recover from that. A lot of countries may not trust us anymore after this just because of Trump. It doesn't matter if we put Jesus Christ in the White House, they're still not going to trust us because they know he's only going to be in there 4 years, and then they might put the devil in there after that, you know. So like I said, if I was a leader of another country, I'd cut all ties to this country. I'd say, look, I'm not going to do any more deals with the United States because their government is unstable, very unstable, okay? They fight and argue all the fucking time. Usually they end up doing the wrong thing, okay? And they can't make an agreement and stick to it. You know, if you try to partner with the U.S. for something, you may lose that partner. Okay, so why should anybody, you know, deal with this country? I'd stay the hell away from us, especially now. Don't even look at Donald Trump and think there's anything you can do with him. Okay, there's nothing. You don't need anything from him. Okay, you couldn't give him enough anyway if you tried. Netanyahu, you know, same thing. Stay the hell away from him because he's not gonna do anything that's going to be of benefit even to his own people. He's just going to put them in a forever war with Iran and drag us into it. That's all he cares about. But yeah, when it comes to healthcare, it's a dismal failure in this country. We've tried this for-profit system for far too long, far too long. We should have stopped doing this way, way back, even before I was born. When people saw what was going on, they should have said, no, this is getting too much where they want more money, and it's, you know, and nobody's stopping them, the government's not stopping them, it's getting too corrupt. We have to stop this, you know. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Subscribe, comment, share. Keep your ears open for health issues and help each other out, okay? There's a lot of people who need help, even in the smallest way they need it. And we have to learn how to think like a community again. And you know, it's not impossible to try to live a productive life and to be seen as, you know, somebody who cares. Okay, you'd be surprised how people will warm up to you quicker when they see that you're on their side or you're there to be available to them. They appreciate that. So try to do that. Try to be an example. And, you know, it helps your own ego, too. It helps to make you feel better about yourself, like you're wanted. Too many people feel like they're not wanted anymore. So you can undo that, you know, by helping others. So I'll talk to you guys later. Take care, everybody.